champ in the postseason since the mid-'70s. For Milwaukee, the opportunity is mired in medical mystery, with two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo's status for Game 1 still unknown. And for future Hall of Famer Chris Paul, it's a chance for further validation here in the Valley of the Sun. Welcome inside Phoenix Suns Arena. We are live at the finals, presented by YouTube TV. So great to have you with us, and so great to be back inside in person for the 74th NBA Finals. I'm Matt Weiner here with NBA champion Steve Smith, two-time NBA champion and Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas here in the building in Phoenix, and remotely with us tonight we've got four-time champ and Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal, two-time NBA champion Kenny Smith. Gentlemen, welcome one and all. I'll go to our remote guests here first. Shaq, we'll start with you. What are your expectations here?
Well, I don't know who did that intro, but if he was my coach, I feel like playing right now. Isaiah, spread it out. Kenny, you stay on the wing. Steve Smith, you go just throw it to me. I'm going to work. If they double team me, I'm going to kick it out to you guys. What I expect is two young teams that don't really know what they're in for. So this first game is always a feel-like game. I had a podcast today, and they asked me, how did I feel when I first made it to the finals? And Kenny, I hope you don't disagree, but the reason why we lost to the Rockets is because when we made it to the finals, we were so happy, Steve and Isaiah. And then I could recall that as an organization, we never talked about winning the championship. We always just wanted to let's make it to the finals, make it to the finals. And we had 10 days off. We were so happy to be there. We didn't know what to expect. And my good friend Kenny Smith and the Rockets, they just put a whooping on us. But I expect two young teams that's going for it. Giannis is the face of the league. Chris Paul, he's definitely one of us, 16 years. I'm hoping Chris Paul wins. I really am.
Fellas, for you, Zeke, do you have a sense of what we're in for with this unusual series?
I think it's going to be a good series. I think it's going to be an exciting series. And like Shaq said, you know, a lot of us are rooting for Chris Paul. When you get this long in the tooth in terms of your career, and you've had the type of success that he's had, you do want it to culminate with an NBA championship. And to see him in the NBA Finals, I think it's a good feeling for all of us. But I'm expecting to see a really good series from Milwaukee and also Phoenix.
Kenny, expectations for you tonight and moving forward?
Well, I would have to agree with Shaq. That first run when we played the Knicks, it took me about 5 games to realize I was in the NBA championship. Playing and, the hype around it, But the second time, I was a lot more comfortable, actually, when we played Orlando. But I'm just happy to see, Steve Smith, Isaiah, and Shaq, man. I mean, look at Shaq, man. Shaq didn't grow up like that where he had wine cellars in his house. Hey, see, we know where he came from, man. Look where he is, man. And see, I tell you, remember when we was growing up and they told you can't have marble on the floor? Well, we got it on the walls now. We got it on the walls now, baby. We just came a long way, y'all.
Hey, Kenny, I love that intro because when I met Shaq, we met in Orlando. You remember that big fella in the Playboy All-American? And you said it best, Kenny and Shaq. And I said that first time, it was the first time for me, but I had that guy named Tim Duncan, Isaiah.
Oh, yeah.
So I felt pretty good because you just throw it down there. When I look at this series right now, Matt, I think it's going to be a young star born in this series. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at one of these guys. They get a chance to go from that good to great to superstar right now. And I'm looking forward to that because a lot of those young guys have this chance. But when you have the best player in the series, you feel pretty good. But who is the best player in this series? Isaiah, without Giannis maybe not playing.
I think we're going to find out. I mean, you have to say Chris Paul, but you never know.
Well, it's almost entirely first-timers as far as the finals goes, including, we think, at some point, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And, of course, that's the biggest question before Game 1. Will Giannis play? Of course, he missed Games 5 and 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals after hyperextending his left knee in Game 4 against the Atlanta Hawks. Today, the Bucks upgraded him from doubtful to questionable, and that's where our Jared Greenberg picks up the story.
Yeah, Matt, it is the most pressing question. It has been a week since Giannis Antetokounmpo hyperextended his knee in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. As you mentioned earlier today, Giannis went from doubtful to questionable, although we still have no indication as to whether he will play or not. Reports came out earlier today that Giannis has been receiving around-the-clock treatment. And as I reported yesterday in front of an army of observers, Giannis went through his first real workout at a private gym not too far from the arena. One thing we do know is that since this building here in Phoenix has undergone a remodel in the last year, there is no more practice court. So if the Bucks are going to get one last look at Giannis to see how that knee has responded from yesterday's workout, it's going to have to come on this court here, right behind us, here in Phoenix, ahead of Game 1. Matt, we'll hear from Mike Budenholzer within the next half an hour and hope the coach gives us more of an update on Giannis' status.
All right, Jared, thank you much. Smitty, we've been kind of watching when we can Giannis out there on the floor. What do you make of what you've seen, if you can tell anything? And secondly, we're watching, the Suns are watching, as well as the Bucks medical personnel as well.
You know, Matt, I think it was promising. Look right here. He getting a chance to drive that basketball. Isaiah, he's driving it hard. He went through his dribbling routine. You know, I can't comment on his injury, but you're in the finals. I know he wants to get a chance to play. The way he's warming up, to me, Isaiah, right now, he's playing in Game 1.
Look, if I'm his teammate and I'm watching all this and he don't play, I'm mad. We're in the NBA Finals. We're in the NBA Finals. It's taking us this long to get here. We got a chance to win it, and you warming up and looking this good. Hey, you can't come to the locker room and tell me you're not putting on the uniform. And the other thing, if you had a private workout in an arena, and the Detroit Pistons was in the playoffs or in the finals, and the opposing guy had a private workout and he was hurt, we gonna know that guy working out. I mean, in Detroit, everybody, hey Isaiah, hey man, Giannis over here. You want me to put it flat in his tire?
Hey, Shaq, how about that as a teammate? What kind of standard do you hold your star player to with regards to an injury with these stakes, the NBA Finals?
Before I speak, I need clarification. Is it 2-2-1-1-1 or 2-3-2?
It is 2-2-1-1-1.
Okay. I thought it was 2-3-2. Okay. If I was Giannis and I was 70% or more, I would play. But you know, listen, he's been off a week. His conditioning may be messed up a little bit. And then, you know, look, coming from not playing, going to playing full speed, I could tell that it's still something there in his knee, because when he even drove the ball hard, Steve, he landed on that right. You know, he made sure that he landed on the right. He didn't really land on the left. I know he's not going to be 100%, but if the format was 2-3-2, I would say take a game off. Hopefully we can win Game 2, you get one or two more games rest, and then you play those 3 games at Milwaukee. See, right there, he drove hard, but he didn't land on it. You saw that?
Hey, Shaq, I played that way my whole 14 years.
Hey, all I'm saying is this, Shaq. If he doing all that and I'm watching on TV and I'm in the locker room, hey man, you got to put that number 34 jersey on, man. I don't want to hear nothing. Give me that 70%.
Hey, Kenny, it's a different NBA, obviously. You know, in 2021, as a teammate, are you saying something to Giannis about, hey, we need you, man. If you can play, you got to play?
Well, I think Giannis is built the same way Isaiah thinks. Like he might be new school, but it's the individual. He has to have that in him to say, I'm not going to sit this out.
I don't want to see that.
Oh.
I think that, it was an unbelievable injury. We don't have to see it multiple times because we all hate to see it. But you know what the funny thing was? Like, I wasn't going to say it, but I might as well. He was actually when they were playing the Hawks, he was on my floor in the same hotel. And the dude was walking around in the hotel, and I'm like, yo, you look great.
Yeah, no, he does, right?
He was walking on the, but Isaiah, he had no shirt on, a towel, walking on the floor. I'm like, where you going? He's like, oh, I was just getting some ice. I was like, well, if I had a body like that, I'd probably walk around with no shirt on in the hotel too. Like, the guy looked great. He looks like he was ready to play. And I think that he will play, judging by the intensity that he's going. Because if he's doing a private workout, he would have known then, Zeke and Shaq and Steve, like, I did my private, I ain't ready. I don't need to be out here now.
Yeah.
But since he did the private, now I was like, oh, I got to get warmed up for the game.
Yeah.
Hey, Kenny, I'm loving that marble back there. I'm coming out there to see that marble.
Come on, baby.
I'm loving that marble.
They said we couldn't have it. We have it now, baby. We got it now.
Looking good, guys. I'm not sure the hotel mobility should be the barometer that the medical staff uses, but he does look good out on the floor tonight. There's Devin Booker, one of those young stars we talked about. Suns are dressed for the occasion tonight,
by the way. Looking good now. He's looking good now, man.
Suns all looking good.
Yeah.
Much more coming up. Live in the finals.
If this man has to retire without a ring, he will never be the same. Like, he wants it more than anybody that I know. And so I know that is important for him. You know what I mean? And he wants it. And so you make it happen. Like, as wives, as mothers, you just make it happen.
Chris Paul's wife, Jada Paul, back in 2018 on an edition of Open Court Families, talking about how much CP3 wants that title. He waited 1,213 games to finally reach the finals. Only Kevin Willis played more before making his first finals appearance with Smitty back on the 03 championship Spurs team. Remember, Chris Paul finished fifth in the regular season MVP vote as well. And a lot of that wasn't because of his counting numbers, Zeke. It was because of his leadership and the impact he made on this franchise. But as we've seen in the playoffs, he can do a lot on the floor as well, and he will be a factor tonight.
He most definitely will, Matt and Smitty. And this is the most opportune time that he's probably ever had in terms of winning the NBA championship. And he's so good in transition, coming down, feeding Aiden off the high screen and roll, and then high pick and roll. This is his thing, but when he's not in high pick and roll, he can isolate. In the mid-range game, he's a killer at. When everyone was saying don't shoot the mid-range, he stayed traditional, he stayed stubborn, he stayed true to his fundamentals, and now he's the best mid-range player in the game. Reading the high screen and roll, again, most defenses aren't set up to play the mid-range shot. Chris Paul has figured it all out, as he always do it, and as a leader, as a captain on the team, as a floor general, not only does he know how to get himself off, but he also understands how to get others involved. That's what makes him a true champion. And, well, I would say that's what we're hoping for, that he can become a true champion.
41 in the closeout game against the L.A. Clippers. And, Kenny, CP3 has all the credentials, right? He was just named All-NBA for the 10th time in his career. We could go down the whole rundown of his career resume. There was this thought in some quarters that he needed to reach the NBA Finals to sort of cement his legacy. What, if anything, in your mind, does this do for his career resume?
For me, it doesn't do anything differently. I mean, the guy's been a Hall of Fame player. There's a difference between being a Hall of Fame player and having a Hall of Fame team. Like, you have a memorable team, a team that, is iconic, like the Detroit Pistons, the San Antonio Spurs, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Houston Rockets. Those are iconic teams. He's just been an iconic player. And I even think that this year probably is, a team that no one's expected to be there as well. So you wouldn't even have expected this to be happening. I don't think he's ever been put in position to say, I have the best guys around me. And today, it's even surprising that they're here. So I don't think it changes his legacy. But I think winning it now adds on to it, because this still, you wouldn't have said, is an iconic team.
16 years CP3 has waited for this opportunity. Smitty, when you think of his career, what do you think of?
I love that he's been consistent, Isaiah, in his play. And I love right now that he's getting his chance. As a player growing up, you want that one chance. And for us, it came later in my career. And then for me, like Kenny said, I didn't think he would get there in the next 2 years with the Phoenix Suns. Give him a lot of credit, give that organization. Give Monty Williams a lot of credit because those two now came back together to be able to get to this finals. But what I love right now is he is reading what he needs to do, and that is score down the stretch. And I've always loved him as a player, but seeing the way he's scoring right now, Isaiah, in the mid-range, 41 points in the closeout game for them. I mean, also the game he had like 27 and 5 in the second half against Denver. I think he's saying, I got this one chance. I'm going to turn on that scoring cap if need be.
Shaq, you're on that list. I don't know if you can see that or not, of 40-point games without a turnover in a conference finals game. What has Chris Paul meant to this Suns organization, not only in terms of what he's done on the floor with games like what we saw in the closeout against the Clippers, but his impact on the franchise as a whole here?
Well, he's definitely changed the culture. He's brought leadership. He's doing a great job of putting the young, upcoming Devin Booker under his wing. He's been a earful for, big fella there. He's talking to the big fella, how to play DeAndre Ayton. Do this, don't do that. Do this, roll this way, do that. He's been great. And, I heard this from the great Isaiah Thomas. He told me one day, he said, look, everybody wants to make a name for themselves. Everybody wants to be a great players, but only the elites can be champions. And know that if he does not win, and Chris Paul does not mess up his legacy, but I will have to disagree with Kenny. It will not add to his legacy. If he wins this, it will definitely add to his legacy. But I would like to see him on the same side that we're all on. Steve got a championship. Kenny got a couple championships. I have 4. The great Isaiah has 2. So for us, and how we think, our mentality, it's good to be a legend and this and that, but we want championship or championships under our belt before we shut it down.
We'll hear more from the former Phoenix Suns, Shaquille O'Neal, as well as Kenny, Zeke, and Smitty as we continue live from the finals presented by YouTube TV. On the way, Drew Holiday getting primed for his first finals after a monster closeout game against the Hawks. We'll hear from him next. He has been widely regarded as one of the best two-way guards in the NBA for a long time now, but in the Eastern Conference Finals, without Giannis, they needed his offense, and he provided. How much of a factor will he be against the Suns backcourt?
Me and Isaiah was talking about, I think, huge, Isaiah. And like you talked about, the offense was unleashed. And one reason why is I've been a Drew Holiday fan since he was at UCLA because of plays like this. He's always kind of been humble, Isaiah, taking the back seat offensively. But watching him right now, I think he's been forced with Giannis' injury, like Charles said, to be aggressive. Defensively, he has that whisper. When I talk to guys in the NBA, especially young guys that I have all over, you don't want no parts of Drew Holiday. Reminds me of Mookie Blaylock when I played. Guys whisper saying, not at all. But his offense, Isaiah, it felt like somebody's challenged him in the park. And I think he looked in the Eastern Conference, Matt, and says, there's no Giannis, there's no Trey. I should, with Chris Middleton, be the best player in this series. Entering that series, he was only averaging about 15 points. He ended up averaging 22 points, but that one game, 27, 9, and 9. And I think right now, offensively, he's starting to feel it. It's going to be interesting watching him and Chris Paul because he's one of those guys defensively people fear.
We're about 90 minutes away from tip-off of Game 1. Still no official word on Giannis Antetokounmpo's status. A short while ago, Jared Greenberg caught up with head coach Mike Budenholzer.
Coach Budenholzer, do I need to ask the first question? What is Giannis'
Let me guess.
status? Yeah, there you go. What is Giannis' status?
He's still questionable. He just did some work on the court. We'll listen to him in the back. We'll listen to the sports performance, the medical group, and update if there's any changes when appropriate.
Do you feel if he is able to play that you will get 100% of Giannis?
I think what all players say this time of year, everybody's probably a little nicked up and banged up, and I know he'll give us 100% of what he can give. That's you can't ask any more from anybody.
You got some special performances out of Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and others in Giannis' absence. Whether Giannis does or does not play, how do you continue to try and maximize those guys yet again?
Yeah, I think it was good for the group, good for those players, good for us collectively, to play a Game 5, a Game 6 without Giannis and know what it feels like, be able to reference that, draw on that, and If he plays, then great, and if he doesn't, we'll be ready to go.
So Giannis is or isn't playing?
He is or isn't. He's somewhere in there.
Coach Budenholzer, thank you so much. Good luck.
Thanks, Jared.
All right, guys, back to you.
That's Arizona native Mike Budenholzer, by the way, not revealing anything, if he knows it or not. Kenny, if Giannis can play and he's not 100%, how can the Bucks best utilize him tonight?
Well, the one thing about Giannis is his athleticism is what makes him so dangerous. So if he's not 100% athletically, that wall that all these teams talk about building becomes a little bit easier because he can't explode by people. But then he becomes a jump shooter, and which you probably want. But he might be a better jump shooter because he always shoots long. So maybe if he doesn't have his legs under him, he'll probably be able to knock some shots down. But athletically is where he is. He draws double teams. So now all of a sudden, you don't have to double. You have to double guys differently. If he's on the floor, you can't leave shooters. So you can win games like they've done against the Atlanta Hawks without Giannis, but you can't win an NBA championship without him.
Giannis averaged 40 in the 2 regular season games against the Phoenix Suns. And
you say it so casually.
I know. Well,
40.
I know. It's Giannis numbers, right? We get used to those. He was 21 of 28 in the restricted area in those 2 games. Same question to you. If he's 75% or something like that tonight and maybe can't be that explosive to the rim, how do the Bucks use him?
The 75%, use him close to the rim. Because if he's 75% and he's giving you those type of numbers in the restricted area, then Matt, start him in the restricted area, Smitty. Don't allow him to have to dribble, come downhill, beat people off the dribble to get to the restricted area. Actually, run your offense and start him there, then throw the basketball to him, and he looks like he's capable of making 1 or 2 moves. If he can make 1 or 2 moves and get to the basket, now he gets to the foul line. If he's getting to the foul line 10, 11 times a night, now he's giving you a chance to set your defense. Out on the road, you got to be able to set your defense, slow the game down, and ease into that first quarter, because you don't want that first quarter to just be a blowout and you're down like 15, 20 points in the first quarter.
Shaq, if Giannis is not completely himself, how can he be most effective tonight on both ends?
Well, Kenny and Chuck, they always say use him as a decoy. If he can get that 1 or 2, 3-step speed dribble into the middle of the lane, cause the defense of Phoenix to panic a little bit, and he can kick it out to his guys for wide open shots. But if I'm the opponent, I'm going to test that knee out a little bit, Steve and Isaiah. I'm going to do what's called the running box out. The way they play now, team switches, so a lot of guys are going to be very smaller than him. So when that shot goes up, Giannis has to be very, very careful about the smaller guys bending down, bumping into that knee. If I was him, if I was Milwaukee, I would say, okay, the first game is always a fill-out game anyway. Let's just see how well the team does. Let me get 1 more day of rest, a couple more days of treatment, a couple more hours of treatment, and then come back game 2. Because, what people that need to understand that, yes, Giannis is not 100%, but if he doesn't win the championship, nobody's going to care that he wasn't 100%.
Well said, Shaq. Enjoy the beach tonight, and we'll see you post-game. You too as well, Kenny. We'll talk to you a little later on tonight after game 1.
Kenny, I'm coming, Kenny. I'm coming.
Come on, baby. It's only 95 here, baby.
And it's a great moments in Phoenix Suns history happened here in 1997, Game 4, and that man Rex Chapman forced overtime against the Seattle Supersonics. And now there's a whole generation of young fans who know him as a Twitter star instead. Rex, good to have you with us, man.
It's good to see you guys. It's been way too long.
Yes, absolutely.
Pandemic, all that stuff, man. It's great to be in a building. And I know you guys haven't been in this building for these playoffs yet, have you?
No, I haven't been in any building.
Just wait. I'm telling you, it's a little bit of, it feels like a throwback. I mean, especially, none of us have really been in buildings. It's just a great atmosphere. And
do your palms get sweaty?
Yes, they do. They do.
Yeah. You can hear it. You can hear it on TV.
Yeah.
You can hear it on TV. Great crowd here. Of course, you played here. You worked for the Suns as well. How excited are you that this organization and these fans get this moment tonight?
I'm really excited. And as you can see, this is the same arena, but it's been gutted. I mean, and it's all kind of come together here at the same time. Robert Sarver has taken his lumps over the years as an owner, here and there. But if you remember, Mark Cuban did as well. Michael Jordan has at times. People go through a learning curve. I think that he's gone through that a little bit. He came in, he hired James, and James immediately hired Monty. And had he not done that when he did, Monty probably would have been going and coaching the Lakers. So that changed the culture completely here. Monty came in, and, we talk about it all the time about how, it's college kind of has that rah-rah atmosphere.
Right.
These Suns, they're kind of that way. And they love Monty Williams. There's not a fake thing about it. They love their coach. They will run through a wall for him. So, I know the fans here in the Valley haven't had a playoff team in over a decade. I'm really happy for them.
Rex, I got a chance to compete against you, but I will say, this. I watched you at Kentucky. Rex is one of those guys. I love Rex. And then that shot.
Man.
But before that shot, you had about 10 points in that fourth quarter. You were rolling. I know we're going to talk about that shot, but talk about how you were rolling that fourth quarter to get you guys back, because you were down 12.
Man, thinking back, we don't think a lot about it while we're playing. We're just kind of doing it. I got lucky. I really got lucky. When I came to Phoenix, they had Kevin Johnson and Jason Kidd. And then Steve Nash came in.
Wow.
So, and we were playing small. So I was kind of able to play the 3 spot, Steve, and have bigger guys chase me around out here on the West Coast. They didn't post up as much. But playing with Jason and KJ, really, nobody could really focus on me, and I could kind of run free. So kudos to them for really making me better.
You play with some of the greatest guards you just named to ever play the game. And now we watching Chris Paul, one of the greatest to ever play the game. Talk about how easy playing with a Jason Kidd or a Kevin Johnson or a Chris Paul makes it easy for a scorer like yourself or Devin Booker.
I wish I was asking you this question. You know the answer to it better than I. I was a 2 guard. They tried to experiment with me at the 1 in a preseason game here or there, and then I get pressured and go try to score. So immediately when I played, I played with Scott Skiles and guys who could just spoon feed me, and that made me that much better. Chris Paul, man, I'm excited to be on the set with you, because when people ask me about Chris all the time, I always say, you guys were different, but I see a lot of Chris and Isaiah, the competitor, and you do anything to win, constantly thinking, constantly communicating, knowing time and score, being, playing the game with character and integrity. And that's what Chris Paul does, and that's what he's brought to DeAndre Ayton, and it's rubbed off on all these guys. And I leave you with one, Jay Crowder. I don't know if you guys know this, but Jay Crowder, his dad is Corey Crowder. And my dad coached at Kentucky Wesleyan College and recruited Corey Crowder, and he went and played for my father in Owensboro. So I got to see Corey play in Owensboro growing up. He's a little younger than I am, but he was National Division II Player of the Year. They won a national title, and I'm just so happy to kind of be experiencing that with his son here in the Valley.
Who's the only player in this series with finals experience, which is amazing for these 2 teams. We got to go. You're wearing a Suns T-shirt, so I know who you're picking. How many games?
6. But did you guys see Giannis out here working out?
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come be playing. He got to play.
He's got the 2 things I didn't see. 2 things I didn't see. He was explosive. He went up off 2 feet. I didn't see him go off his left leg, and I didn't see him react.
Okay, so wait a minute. If you on the Bucks team,
there you go. You didn't have
I'm playing.
If he walk in your locker room right now and say he's not playing,
I know.
What would you say to him?
I know. I love it though. I love it. And what I love too is that the games he was hurt, he was dressed out and down there with his team on the sidelines. He's in it. If I had to bet right now, I would bet he's going to play. Right?
Yeah, me too.
It's Rex Chapman.
I bet Rex can still hit that shot though. He's still in great shape.
No. Just wear bigger clothes.
Media mogul Rex Chapman. He tweets, he podcasts. I don't know what else he does. He merchandises.
Whatever they tell me.
Welcome to the NBA Finals. What's the initial message to the team heading into Game 1?
Well, we've talked enough. You know, we've had time to send a ton of messages, talk about coverages, how we want to play. We messaged the guys this morning, and it was to hoop, to not forget how we got here. We don't want our guys restricted on the floor. We play free. We play with a competitive edge. We play relentless basketball, and we don't want to forget that.
A team lacking playoff experience has played with so much poise, as you referenced. How do you make sure that doesn't change starting tonight?
We try to not overcrowd our young players with a lot of information on that lack of experience. They know it. And we also have guys like Chris and Jay and Etwan who have brought a ton to our team as far as wisdom and acumen and how to respond in certain situations. So we've relied on that.
It seems like the Bucks have given you some extra homework preparing for what could be two different teams, whether Giannis plays or not. How does that change your approach to Game 1 tonight, not knowing his status?
Well, you always prepare for the best, but it's not like the guys that played a lot when he wasn't playing aren't going to play. And so we've been prepared for if he plays, if he doesn't play, that's something that we would do anyway.
Do you have an expectation that he will play?
It's not our concern. We respect the Bucks. We respect Giannis. He's a decorated all-world player. And we respect that, but we also have to remember who we are and establish the floor with that.
Appreciate your time, Coach. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
That's Coach of the Year runner-up Monty Williams. First on my ballot as you take a look at DeAndre Ayton. He's always got the ice going.
I cannot wait, Matt and Isaiah, to next.
Devin Booker all the way to the finals after that long wait to appear in the postseason. He's got 7 games of 30 points or more and averaging 27 on the playoffs so far. As we welcome you back inside Phoenix Suns Arena, live at the finals, presented by YouTube TV. Isaiah Thomas, Steve Smith, I'm Matt Weiner. Great to have you with us. Great to be inside the building. What kind of an imprint can Devin Booker make on this series starting tonight?
You know, Smitty said earlier that there's going to be a young superstar that arises and come out, you know, at this NBA Finals. And it's probably going to be Devin Booker. You know, the thing that I love about him and what Phoenix does is that he's consistent. You know, they run the same plays. And then Monty's he's an old school coach. So he's got Devin coming off baseline screens, pick the picker in the middle, dribble handoffs, all the things that he probably was taught as a young kid growing up by his father. Now Monty,
the great Melvin Booker.
Yes, great Melvin Booker, yes. Now his father, who's still, you know, old school basketball, they're playing old school traditional basketball. And when you look at Chris Paul and you look at Devin Booker, right, they're playing traditional classic basketball, not necessarily, you know, run and gun.
All right, you're looking at a live microphone and the Commissioner Adam Silver for his annual NBA Finals address with the media. Let's listen in.
Season and a half. Appreciate COVID, your time today. It's been an incredibly unique season and a half dealing with COVID and the protocols. Let me thank the members of the media. You've often dealt with all of our same protocols, our testing, our mask wearing, and all the various restrictions around your coverage, and I appreciate you're all fighting through it. Of course, to our players and teams, it's just been an enormous physical and emotional burden on everyone. I think, you know, we see that every day. Been a lot of discussion around the injuries. Putting aside the specific data for a second, I have no doubt that the additional stress, again, physical and emotional on them, contributes to injuries. None of it is an exact science. It's something that even pre-COVID, as you all know, we were very focused on at the league. We put people in place to focus exclusively on injury prevention. Precisely why we have the injuries we do is still unclear to us. It's something that we'll continue to study in the off season. The trend line, unfortunately, has been going up for the last several years, and that's despite the tremendous additional resources our teams have put into injury prevention, the brand new practice facilities located throughout the league, the state-of-the-art equipment, it's horrific, and it's something that, of course, takes away from the competition. And these are players with relatively short careers, and keeping them on the floor is of paramount importance to us, to the fans. So it's something that we'll continue to focus on, but it's not as easy to even discern what's happening this season. It seems doesn't correlate precisely to numbers of games, to the amount of time off particular teams had coming into this season, to the density or not of the schedule. Of course, we played 72 games instead of 82 games this season, and roughly 22 of our teams had 4 months off coming into the season. So, yes, was there more of a burden on those teams that went far into the playoffs and into the finals last year? Absolutely. And it was a question of working with the Players Association to find the right balance between appropriate rest. The concerns we had about players when they were outside of our COVID protocols, as you all recall, we had a tremendous number of positives when the players first came back between the break of last season and coming back this season, and we knew collectively, we and the Players Association, that it was healthier when the players were under the various protocols put in place by the league together with the Players Association. And we also, on the back end, we're looking for a way to get back on schedule. We were trying to contain the issues around COVID to the extent possible, and that's something we still don't know, to 2 seasons. So it also meant trying to do everything we could to get back into our natural season next year, meaning starting in October and ending before July. And of course, we're in July this year, something not optimal for the league, both in terms of television viewership and for the players as well. I mean, just as a reminder, in discussions with the players, they have sort of a natural clock themselves, and maybe that's related to injuries or not, on their bodies. They played, especially the veterans, sort of their bodies sort of peak at specific times in the year, and that's something that they've been conditioned to doing, again, physically, mentally, emotionally as well. And there's also an issue of family time for our players. I mean, when we were in these discussions towards the end of last season with the Players Association and directly with players as to when the optimal time to start this year, many players expressed a strong desire to have time, particularly in August, with their families, with their young children. Many players don't live in the same city that their families live in, and even when they do, they're on the road most of the time, or their children are back in school. And then add on top of that, the desire for many players, both U.S. players and international players, to play in the Olympics. So lots of different factors went into making these decisions. Again, it's fair game to second guess them, and I think, frankly, we may not know for quite a while until we're really able to look back when we know this pandemic is over, whether we made the right decisions or not. Few other things before I get to your questions. We are, of course, thrilled to have fans back in the arenas. We've now had, since the playoffs started, over 1 million fans back in our arenas, which is, quite remarkable, and not a place that I thought we'd be in only a few months ago. And I know I heard from many people outside of basketball and even outside of sports that when the playoffs started and they saw those full arenas again, it was a signal that maybe the worst of the pandemic is behind us. And of course, we're very much hoping that's the case. And, again, to see all of you, the media, back in our buildings covering our games, I know the players have all said it makes a huge difference to them to be playing in front of tens of thousands of fans, screaming, yelling, cheering, et cetera. That's been really meaningful for the league. So we're thrilled at that. And I don't say, for me, I see this as hopefully the end of a transition for the league, not just post-COVID, but as we're just by virtue of the teams that we saw in the conference finals, a real transition in terms of the league, of the up-and-coming new stars, up-and-coming franchises, more parity throughout the league. Again, it wouldn't be true to the data to make too large a point around one season, particularly one that may have been, that was so aberrational, but I at least say it looks like a very positive sign in terms of what the competition we're seeing around the league. Let me also congratulate for the Phoenix Suns, of course, Robert Sarver, the principal, governor of the team, James Jones, general manager, Monty Williams, the coach. Just a fantastic job, and I can't say it enough for the teams that are here. You in the media here know what it's been like, but to go through these protocols on a daily basis, pre-vaccines in many cases, teams on game days were being tested 3 times a day. I mean, that's, as you saw when we adjusted when we had some